Good afternoon and welcome to the Brazos River Authority's Brown Bag on the Brazos. I'm Judy Pierce. I'm your host for today's virtual town hall meeting, and we're very happy you've chosen to spend your lunch hour with us today. Today we have a number of topics to discuss this hour. We're going to welcome our GM CEO, David Collinsworth, to discuss a rededication of the Waco Central Office. We'll touch on some of the actions taken at our July 31st Board of Directors meeting, and then we'll take a look at the ongoing drought and its effect on our available water supply with BRA Water Services Manager Aaron Abel. And as always, we'll answer your questions at the end of this presentation. So before we jump in, let's talk a little about housekeeping. Part of the purpose of us being here today is to allow you to ask questions of the BRA live. So at any time during our presentation, you can ask a question by typing it into the chat function that you'll find in an icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If we don't get to your question, please send us an email at information@brazos.org and we'll respond to you in writing. Or if you have a topic that you'd like to hear about, send it to us also at information@brazos.org and we'll look at into scheduling that topic to a future Brown Bag meeting. So let's talk just a minute about our Board of Directors meetings. If you're not aware, the BRA Board of Directors meets every other month. Our last meeting was held on July 31st here at the central office. Meetings are live streamed on our BRA YouTube channel. And if you're not able to tune into that meeting, you can watch it by visiting YouTube at a later date or by going to our website at brazos.org and choosing board minutes where you can view the meeting by agenda topic. Okay, so let's get into our first guest of the day. We're very pleased to welcome David Collinsworth, our General Manager, Chief Executive Officer. David, thanks for joining us
Thanks for having me.
So at our last board meeting, there was a resolution renaming the central office. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was really pleased that our board decided to take the initiative to dedicate the building and the property to our past general manager. Lieutenant General Phil Ford worked here for a little over 17 years, but prior to getting here, he was a three-star general in the United States Air Force. And as I told the board the other day, he held some really big kid positions as in Strategic Air Command and being the executive commander over the B-52 Bomber Squad. So he really served his country well. And as we discussed, you know, he spent 35 years in the Air Force and then he retired only to come serve the state of Texas to make sure that that he was serving to make sure that the state of Texas had the water that it needs. He was a fine gentleman, and he had a tremendous contribution to both projects that were completed while he was here, but also just kind of restructured the BRA and really changed our work culture and left a lasting mark on this organization.
Well, I understand that the building complex itself is going to be expanding in the future. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I sure can. So for about the last year, we've had approval from our board of directors to look at designing a new laboratory. Our laboratory is within the central office right now, and we have some space available here on our property. And we're looking at building a regional laboratory here on our property that would allow us a couple of things. It would allow us to expand the water quality monitoring initiatives that we're looking at. We're really looking in 2024 and beyond at how we can further our monitoring to protect our reservoirs and understand how growth is impacting those reservoirs. And then it also will move those folks out of this central office and allow us some space to expand as we look at doing things like pipeline projects and Allen's Creek Reservoir. So it's really twofold. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. We're almost done with engineering and design, so we'll have to see how the costs come in and then present them to our board in the months to come and see if we move forward with construction.
That's great. Well, while you're here, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the board decided to do at our last meeting?
So our July board meeting is always a very significant board meeting. We present to our board of directors for the second time our draft strategic plan for them to consider. They approved our strategic plan. One of the things that's different moving forward with this strategic plan is that we've typically come to the board and ask for approval of a strategic plan on an annual basis. But really, What we do doesn't change on an annual basis. So we've put forth a 5-year strategic plan, and then we'll report our progress to the board on an annual basis. So they adopted that. They also adopted our annual budget. We have an annual budget that our board approves. So we'll be starting our new fiscal year in September. So they approved us borrowing some money from the Texas Water Development Board, $50 million to be exact, to help move projects forward, one of those being Allen's Creek. So it was a very significant board meeting for us.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
Well, we're all really excited about Allen's Creek. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about that, since we now have funding to move forward?
Sure. So we were able to negotiate a deal with Houston a year ago to start moving Allen's Creek forward. We're working with some environmental firms now to start doing some environmental monitoring and some very preliminary work that needs to happen so that we can permit the reservoir. In Texas, to build a reservoir, you need 3 things. You need property. We have probably 98% of the property that we need. You need a water permit. We have a perfected water permit through the TCEQ, and then you need what's called a 404 permit through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And that's what we've got to start working on now. So we'll spend a tremendous amount of effort looking at that 404 permit. That's going to include looking at endangered species, artifacts. It will include an extensive evaluation of how Allen's Creek might change flooding downstream and adjacent to the reservoir. So all of those things have to be studied and understood and put before the Corps of Engineers and their stakeholders for their evaluation. So that's kind of where we are now. So we're really excited about moving forward. And I think if you follow along on our webpage, I think you'll get to read a lot about Allen's Creek in the months to come.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for joining.
Well, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we won't keep you any longer.
Okay.
We'll let you move on.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. All right. So while we're changing out our speakers today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the BRA waterfowl hunting permit drawings that'll be held at the end of this month. So BRA regulations restrict hunting on BRA property to waterfowl permits only on the 3 BRA-owned reservoirs, Possum Kingdom Lake, Granbury, and Lake Limestone. So for safety purposes, the locations of these permits are very limited, but there are a large number of people that hope to be approved for those permits. So because of this, the BRA holds permit drawings each year in August for the permits. And you must be present to register on the morning of those drawings. You'll see those dates are August 25th for Lake Limestone, August 25th also for Lake Granbury, and August 26th for Possum Kingdom Lake. So as I said, you must be present to register. When you arrive that day, if you're interested, you must bring along with you a valid 2023-2024 Texas hunting license. And that license must have the Texas duck stamp endorsement and the current federal waterfowl stamp. The cost for the blind location for the season is $200. But that location may be shared by up to 4 hunters. So if you're interested and you'd like some more information, go ahead and contact the lake office in the area that you would like to get that permit. You'll notice that August 25th is Limestone and Lake Granbury. August 26th, again, is Possum Kingdom Lake. All right, so let's move on to our next speaker. So Aaron Abel, Water Services Manager. Where have we been with the drought? During the last meeting, I think in June, we were experiencing a lot of rainfall in the upper part of the basin, and that led a lot of people to think that the drought was over, and maybe not so much at this point.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. It's good to be back. Obviously, there's a lot that's happened since June, and you mentioned it. At that time, we were receiving a lot of rainfall and above normal rainfall, really in the upper part of the basin, upstream of Possum Kingdom, kind of from the Lubbock area to Abilene. And I think everybody can see on their screens now, this is the 90-day departure from normal rainfall from the National Weather Service and NOAA. And so this is the amount of rain or above or below normal rain that has fallen since early May. So a 90-day, 3-month period. And what you can see here, and the legend is on the right. So the bright blues and the purples, that's above normal rainfall. That's amount of rain above what we normally would receive over this 90-day period. And you'll see that from the Abilene area and northwestward, which is in the watershed upstream of Possum Kingdom, we received anywhere widespread from 2 to 12 inches above normal,
That's
dating back to early
amazing
May.
for that part of the basin.
Yes, and it did initiate increased stream flow, and that water flowed down the tributaries upstream of Possum Kingdom, the Clear Fork, and the main stem, coming through Seymour, and Lake Possum Kingdom and Lake Granbury ultimately filled from this above normal rainfall. And so that's one story that we're seeing from this map. The other story you'll see is the yellows and the oranges that are located primarily downstream, through Possum Kingdom all the way to the Texas Gulf Coast. And that represents below normal rainfall. And, typically from June through August, we don't really see that much rain, but this includes May. So May is in here in this rainfall, and we didn't really see that much rainfall really in May throughout the locations of where our reservoirs are located. And I want to point out, really Bell and Williamson counties, the Lake Georgetown, Stillhouse Hollow, Lake Belton area, they saw anywhere from 2 to 6 inches below normal rainfall over this 3-month period. So what that means is, less water that's flowing into the reservoirs. Obviously, it's been hot and dry, over the last, really since June. And now you can see, the last 30 days. And what you'll see is a more widespread, below normal rainfall over much of the basin. Downstream of our reservoirs, Somerville, Lake Limestone, and the other reservoirs along the main stem, we're seeing even much more below normal rainfall than other areas, on the order of 2 to 4 inches of rain departure from below normal rainfall, and that has caused stream flows along the main stem of the river, which supplies a lot of our customers in Fort Bend and Brazoria County. That river level is falling, so we have to supplement with releases, and we've done that through releases from Somerville and Lake Whitney here recently. One other thing to point out, and this is something that we always kind of review in the brown bags, is just the status of our water supply reservoirs. And I failed to mention, but our system is made up of 11 reservoirs. 3 of which are owned and operated by BRA, and those are Possum Kingdom, Lake Granbury, and Lake Limestone. And then there's 8 other core reservoirs in the system that we have storage contracts and water rights in, and water is used out of all 11 reservoirs. So what you're seeing here is the height of the columns is proportional to the capacity of water that can be held in each of the reservoirs relative to one another. So, obviously Possum Kingdom and Whitney and Belton are some of the largest reservoirs. What you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner is a lot of data information related to the percent full, the 2-week change, percent change, the current drawdown. So that is where the lake level is relative to the top of conservation or full elevation, and then the 2-week change in drawdown. So, or in the drawdown relative to 2 weeks ago. So what you're seeing here is increased drawdown, and this is because it's hot and dry. We're not seeing obviously much rain, so water use is there, evaporative losses is there. So we're seeing anywhere from half a foot to almost over a foot of change in the drawdown over a 2-week period. So that's a pretty rapid drawdown. But we're in August now. The length of the day is getting shorter. So the sun, hopefully, in the next couple of months will kind of cause our weather to change and be a little bit cooler. But right now, some of the things that have happened is we've entered into some new drought stages relative to our drought contingency plan. Overall, we are still in stage 1 drought watch for the whole system for all 11 reservoirs.
How long have we been in stage 1? It's been quite a while.
Yeah, for stage 1 as a system, it dates back to, I think late last year, so almost a year now. And so we have seen some other drought entrances here lately as well. Stage 1, we're recommending a 5% reduction in water use for customers. So, that's where we are from a system standpoint, but we have seen some changes individually in the subsystems of the reservoirs and the reservoir singly too. So,
okay. So what do stage 2 restrictions mean? I can see on our graphic here that we've got several reservoirs in stage 2 now. What does that mean for those reservoirs?
Yeah. So stage 2 is our second stage in our drought contingency plan. Lake Belton entered stage 2 last Monday. So stage 2 drought warning is a 10% reduction in water use in the absence of drought contingency measures. And also last week, we entered into stage 2 in the Stillhouse Georgetown subsystem. So that's a little bit different in terms of that trigger. So it's the combined storage of Stillhouse Hollow and Lake Georgetown, because those two reservoirs are connected via the Williamson County Regional Raw Water Line. So the storage in that subsystem dropped below the 165,000 acre feet storage trigger that causes us to enter into stage 2. And then Proctor is still currently in stage 3 drought emergency condition for our drought contingency plan. That's a 20% reduction in water use relative to use in the absence of drought contingency measures. So that area from Lake Belton, Stillhouse Hollow, Georgetown, and then extending upstream to Lake Proctor is really the center of the drought right now, related to the Brazos River Basin.
Can I put you on the spot real
Yeah,
quick and tell us about the Lake Belton and the Lake Stillhouse Hollow lake levels?
Absolutely. So Lake Belton, as far as the lake level is concerned, is the lowest it's been since the early 1970s. So it's a significant drought that we're experiencing, and it does date back to really the fall of 2021. So we're approaching the 2-year mark, with this drought. Thankfully, we did receive some rainfall this year in some areas. Last year, we saw much less rain, but as we've seen over the last 90 days, we've seen continued lack of rainfall, and that's to be expected to a certain degree in Texas in the summer.
Sure.
Absolutely. As far as Stillhouse Hollow, it is at an elevation of 605.5. And so right here, it's about 16 and a half feet below the top of conservation. In January of 2012, it reached its record low lake level of 604.8. So we're about 0.7 feet or, about 8 inches from reaching that record low lake level at Stillhouse Hollow. And that's most likely going to occur with the continued weather that we're having probably within the next week or two. Stillhouse Hollow has been impounding water since the late 60s. So again, this is significant as far as the lack of rain that we're having and its impact on water supply and lake levels.
So what is the status of Lake Proctor? I know it's the only one that's listed as red right now. What direction is Lake Proctor going at this point?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so Lake Proctor right now is around 32% full, 11.7 feet below its top of conservation. We are approaching the stage 4 pro rata curtailment condition for our drought contingency plan. We've coordinated with customers and multiple stakeholders that utilize water out of Lake Proctor really since last year, but we are approaching that stage 4 trigger, and it's likely to happen within the next 4 to 6 days. Most likely, we did see some rain in that area last night, but it didn't. We have to have a lot more rain to really impact the drought. But it's good to see. Stage 4 at Proctor is a 30% curtailment of water for the customers, and so those letters will be sent out most likely early next week, and obviously there'll be more information. It'll be released next week for Lake Proctor, but that's 105 to 110 as far as the high temperatures are. Evaporation is playing a toll on all the reservoirs, and then water use. But everything that we can do to save water now can help extend the life of the water supply that's still stored in the reservoirs.
Okay. Well, with all that in mind, how does the rest of the summer look for anticipated rainfall? I mean, we had heard that there was a slacking of La Nina, that there was an El Nino coming. Is that going to help us with lake levels at all?
Yeah, so the rest of the summer, and this is a graphic that we show periodically, but this is coming from the National Weather Service and NOAA, but it's the monthly precipitation outlook. It was issued just a couple of weeks ago, late July, but it's valid for the month of August. And so what it's showing is continued low probability for increased rainfall. So below normal rainfall will continue for most of the basin. We are seeing some storms that are clipping the upper basin that we may see that there's a stalled frontal boundary, at least right now. And but for the rest of the month, it looks like we're going to continue to see high temperatures and low rain chances. But it's August in Texas, and we don't really expect much rain right now, coming from, frontal boundaries and whatnot. That's typically, we look forward to that towards September and October, and that's really our second rainy period, if you will. So, we'll see, hopefully a decrease in temperatures and an increase in rainfall, as we transition into fall.
Okay, so that El Nino may not help us, or it may come full force in the fall. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, and El Nino really doesn't dominate our rainfall potential in the summers. It really kind of affects the pattern in the fall and winter. So, it remains to be seen if we'll see that. Typically El Nino means above normal rainfall in the fall and winter. So, we'll just have to see if that verifies. We're hopeful, and there's a lot of things that impact our weather in the Brazos Basin and in Texas.
Sure. Well, any chance that hurricane season might kick up? It's usually June 1 through October 1, but we haven't seen much in the way of heavy-duty rainfall in the lower part of the basin or any hurricanes. So what is that looking like?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we really haven't seen that much activity in the Atlantic and in the Caribbean and the Gulf as far as tropical storm activity. And what you'll see here is something that the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center shares pretty widely. But on the y-axis, on the vertical axis, you'll see the storms per day over the last per 100 years. And on the x-axis is basically the months. And, we are in the early part of August. So really we'll see, most likely we'll see some activity as we approach, September. The peak of the hurricane season for the Atlantic and tropical storm activity is somewhere around mid-September. But we can have tropical activity, anytime now, really through October and into November. What I think we've seen is there has been some upper level winds that have, not allowed tropical activity to occur.
Okay.
And then also what comes across the Atlantic from Africa is this Saharan dust that kind of suppresses tropical activity in the Atlantic. So, we'll have to see, but, typically latter part of August and September, we start to see more storms. And the other thing that we look at, and, it does impact the Brazos River Basin, but many people may not realize it, is the Pacific Basin and hurricanes and tropical storms that form off the western coast of Mexico. And that activity, we've seen a lot of activity in that area, but most of those storms just kind of shoot off into the Pacific. As we approach September, October, situations can set up where those storms can move across Mexico and sit on top of the basin in Texas and provide rainfall in the fall. So that's something that we'll see and we'll have to, watch out for. But, the sea surface temperatures are warm, and it's all a matter of if those systems can be developed and where they get driven to.
Sure.
So.
Okay. Well, I know it's often said that drought situations end in flooding. We just don't know at this point when that might start occurring, but hoping for some heavy rainfall in the fall.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see, but as always, our system is operating as it's designed. It captured rain when it was wet and when we had flows for the use of water during dry times. And so, overall, we're meeting the needs of the basin, and the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it. Hopefully the rain will begin soon and 100-degree temperatures will go away sooner. Yeah. Thanks again, Aaron. All right. Well, this is the portion of our meeting when we would normally go to questions. And I know we had a couple of questions come in earlier in the week, and one of them really wanted to touch on a little bit. And I think we have Mandy Color out there. Sorry, Mandy. So the question was that we got earlier in the week, what is the status of the Bell House project? So Mandy, a lot of people may not be aware of what Bell House is. So could you tell us a little bit about what the Bell House Drought Preparedness Project is and what the status is?
Sure. Thanks, Judy. So Bell House is a project that we've developed that's going to connect the larger Belton Lake to the smaller Stillhouse Hollow Lake. The main components are an offshore intake with an onshore pump station, a pipeline connecting the lakes, and then an outfall at Stillhouse Hollow. This project is really important because it's going to help improve reliability and resiliency of the regional water supply, improve drought preparedness, and prepare the region for continued growth and development.
Great. So where are we on that right now? What's the current status?
Yeah, so we've completed our preliminary engineering phase, and we're currently in contract development for final design. This phase is expected to last 2 to 3 years, and it's going to set us up for a really easy transition into construction. We hope to have the entire project complete no later than 2030.
Well, I know this is considered a drought preparedness project, so hopefully in the future, if we end up having another drought situation like we're currently in, it would be able to help out those levels at Stillhouse Hollow.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So is there anything that you'd like the folks living near Lakes Belton and the Stillhouse to know about the project?
Yeah, so it's really important for them to understand that our customers in and around Bell County who get their water from Stillhouse, they're really going to benefit the most from this project. But ultimately, the entire region and all of our customers are going to benefit. It's really going to allow the BRA to better manage our water resources throughout the basin. So it's important to note, too, that this pipeline is only expected to run when the water supply is needed. It's not designed to run continuously, and the BRA will not enter into any new raw water contracts solely because of it. Much of the time, natural rainfall and drainage into Stillhouse Hollow will be sufficient to meet water needs without pumping water from Belton. Thanks for
Okay.
having me, Judy. Do you have any other questions for me?
I don't think so, but thank you for taking the time to talk to us. I can see that we only had one other question, and actually that one appears to involve the waterfowl hunting drawings that we talked about earlier. And the question is, I want to be a part of the drawing at Lake Granbury for the waterfowl hunting blinds, but if I'm not chosen for a permit, can I be part of the drawing at Possum Kingdom Lake? Yeah, the answer is yes on that, because they're held on 2 different days. If you're not chosen, because we do usually have a really large turnout at Lake Granbury, if you're not chosen for a permit during the drawing there, you can go up to Possum Kingdom Lake and attempt the drawing there. In the past, they've not awarded all of their permits, so that might be a good option for those of you that are interested in the drawings at Granbury and PK. So. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. There's not any further questions, but if you think of something that you'd like to ask us, again, you can send us an email at information@brazos.org, and we'll be happy to answer those in writing for you. Or if you have a topic you'd like for us to discuss in the brown bag, we'd be happy to take a look at those topics too. So our next board meeting is coming up in September. Our next brown bag on the Brazos will be in early October, and we hope you'll join us again for that. Thank you very much for joining us today.